everybody, it's Michelle LaVore and
Devin LaVore coming at you.
And we're so glad that you're here, and we pray that you guys are blessed by what the Lord has to share today. And we are just going to be kind of just sharing. I feel like it's a word, or just like what God has been doing in our life really for the last couple of weeks. Honestly,
prophetic testimony.
Yeah. Really, it's funny because, you know, we're like, all right, we want to get our video, like, you know, a lot of times we try and do weekly videos, right? Or as close to that as possible. But, you know, there are times when God is just like, it just lingers, and it's because he's like, I'm not done with this full message yet. And so basically, even last night, I was like, okay, maybe we can do our video, and it just didn't happen. And I was just like, all right, okay, Lord, well, it's been a really long time. I know Devin's made a few videos, but I'm like, it's been a long time since like we've done this video together, like a couple weeks. And then after this morning's God time, it was like, yes, this is it. And I feel like what God shared this morning was like the fullness of really what he was trying to express.
And we're not doing like restoration play stuff anymore, so
yeah.
And so it's not like a week to week. It's like when the disciples cast lots for the new disciple to replace Judas. It's like, well, you guys don't do that anymore. You pray, the Spirit of God leads. That's what. But you're in the fresh transition of it, so we're still kind of getting out of that mode of, you know, act this, scene this, you know. So.
Yeah, but it really is. I feel like there is just a message that God has been speaking to us over these last couple of weeks, and I feel like the fullness of what he was sharing in this moment has come out, and that's what we're going to be sharing today. And it's really about his heart.
Yeah.
But before we get into all of that, and I think that I just pray that it truly blesses you. We just want to give a huge thank you to everyone who continues to give and support what God is doing in our life. Yes, huge thank you to all of you. To all of you. And also, we are support-based, so if you would like to give, you can. We have a PayPal link, Cash App, and a Venmo below, and you can click any of those.
Just remember us as we head into the weekend, go into the new week, you know. Yeah. God bless all of you guys. For those of you who've been around, you know. The appreciation is without words. It's without fathom. It's fathomless.
But yeah, so huge thank you to all of you, and we just pray blessing upon all of you who have given, and for those who pray as well, just huge thank you to you. Yes, so let us begin.
Let us begin. Bum, 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 bum.
So, like I said, this message is really about God's heart and his heart for us. And throughout the last couple of weeks, we've just had these moments or visions of really encounters that really just show and have been highlighting God's heart and how he's feeling towards us, and just in just like a deep expressive way. And so one of the things that one of the first visions that you got had to do with, we've had a vision for a very long time about being on this racetrack, and we've got these walls that, you know, the stadium walls, and we're just going around and around and around. And do you want to go ahead and
it's like we're in NASCAR, you know, if you're familiar with NASCAR. If not, then you're fired. No, I'm just kidding. And we're just going around this track over and over and over and over and over again. And in this stadium, there's no way out.
Yeah.
It's almost like the cars were placed in there to run around, and it's like there's no exit or like what are those places called, the corridors where the cars go in and out of the stadium. It's just all wall. That's all it is. But then there's also stands. So there's people watching you run around, you know? And then along the walls, there's all of these advertisements. Well, and for us, the advertisements are like prophetic words, prophetic numbers, and what they symbolize, prophetic symbolisms, all of these things. And then there are things that you see over and over and over and over and over. Like Pennzoil, it's just there on the wall, and every time you make a lap, there's the sign, and you make another lap, yep, there it is again. You know what I'm saying? And so as you're going around over and over and over, you can literally know where every single prophetic thing is along the wall. I mean, you just have it memorized. You know exactly, all the different messages and the different things that God's trying to impart to you, because repetition, it just gets in the heart, you know?
Yeah, and so we've been just going around this track many times, and honestly, even the way that, like, if we look back on our journey, how God has even portioned out the quarters of the year, and we'll have very similar things where it's like, wow, I feel like the Lord was speaking to us about this time last year, but the difference though is
the year before that,
and the year before that, but it's almost like every year he's just building and building, and it just, there's so many layers to it, and the depth in which when you go back and visit something, it's like God can add more depth to it because there's just more growth, more understanding. But it's like you just keep seeing things over and over again. It's like, Lord, when will this end? But do you want to go ahead and share the vision that you had about the
what?
Lord?
About the Lord.
Yes.
The vision I had about the Lord.
Yes.
Yes. Let me share that.
No, with the stadium, the new vision about his heart. I mean, I guess I could just share it, but
if you know what it is, you could just share it.
Basically, you had this vision or encounter with the Lord where he was saying, like, he revealed that the stadium walls that we have been circling actually have been his heart.
Yeah.
And so,
we've been circling his heart this whole time. The wilderness that God placed us in was inside of himself, in his heart. And we've been circling this track that we've been on is called God's Heart for Us track. And so God's got something for you, and then you've been like circling over and over and over again as well, and you've just been seeing it. I just remember when I got, this was a while ago, but I just remember when I got it, I was so in awe. I was so like mesmerized, I was so like, wow, that's it changed my heart toward the whole circling and repetitiveness of it all, when I realized, oh my word, we are inside the heart of God. That's where all these prophetic advertisements are coming from. That's where all of this is coming from. It's from he's making sure that we are just inundated with the elements of his purpose for our life, that we're just inundated with it all the time, everywhere we go, everything we see, everything throughout the years and the circles, And I just remember that. It was like, wow. Yeah,
and so both of us, it was just like this moment of like, wow, we are encircling his heart. But what was interesting is also this idea that God has placed us in a position where he's like, I want you to know these things, like you're saying, his heart for us, for our family, what he wants to do in our life and give us, and those kinds of things. It's like, okay, I want you to know this and have it just written upon your own hearts. But at the same time, there's this picture of eventually the stadium walls are going to break open and part. But part of the the vision of us going around in the stadium wall was also that God was holding back his heart, in the sense that it's like, you know how like a dam holds back water, and then it can be released, right? And it felt like at the time it was like God is like, I'm going to release the fullness of his heart of love, and it will be unleashed like a flood. And it kind of reminded me in a way of just like dating and marriage. You know, in the dating process, it's like you have like how much you love the other person, but you still hold back the fullness of the expression of love until you're married. And it's kind of the same way where God's just like, this is my time of I have you in a wilderness position so you can understand my heart. And so I'm holding back a lot of my expression, like the it's like feeling of my presence, and maybe just like certain aspects of him. He's like, I have to not have this a part of your wilderness experience, because I need you to go through, because I want to have this be the basis of our relationship, and then I will get to express the fullness of my heart. And so, can I say something on that? Because it's like when we're going through the constant circling and hearing the same stuff and seeing the same stuff, okay, yes, we know what that means. God's like, well, come on, let's go at it again. Oh, wow, I get a totally different revelation on that, a completely different angle. He's like, see, you got to keep going around and around. But it like, wait, everyone knows. If you're still going with the Lord, you know, it's just the weight of the weight. It's just so heavy, so intense, and it takes a lot of people out, honestly. But that same pressure and everything that we feel, God is feeling that too. Because he is just like, I can't wait to do it, but it's got to be the right time, and I got to wait for everything to bake and cook and everything to go through its fullness of this process. Luke 12:49, Jesus says, oh man, how I wish, I have a fire that needs to be kindled, and how I wish it could be kindled right now, but I can't, I have to wait. That's basically what he's saying, if you paraphrase what he's saying there. So even you can see God has desires, and he feels the weight of the weight himself. You know? Well, and even right now, where God is in the process of waiting for the bride of Christ to be ready for Christ.
Yeah.
And just that there is a holding back, in a
long
sense.
Suffering.
Yes, that he's going through. But yeah, so it was just kind of, I really loved this picture of just like how God, he's just gonna open up the floodgates of his heart, and it's just going to come out and really just flow upon the people of God who have just, you've been waiting, you've been circling, you've allowed God to just have you in this place of the wilderness, and it's like he's ready to express like the fullness of his love, kind of very much Song of Solomon. I mean, that's a great like example of just how it's like God's like, I want to express my heart, and it's been a long time waiting. You know, and so it's really on both sides. You know, both sides are waiting and longing, but there's gonna come a moment in which God's like, I'm just gonna release the fullness of my love and the fullness of my heart in a way that you haven't experienced before.
Well, can I share a couple of other visions that we got on this? Yeah, because the fullness of that NASCAR stadium vision is that we're just racing around, and we're just full-blown pedal to the metal. We're giving it our whole heart is what it is. And then we come down the straightaway, and we're getting ready to make, turn one, and I don't know if the race was over or or whatever, but all of a sudden the north part of the oval just kind of cracks and splits open, and we're just like, what? You could drive, it was so big, you could drive 20 NASCAR vehicles side by side right through it and still have room to breathe. I mean, that's how it was like. It just opened up, and I was like, "Whoa!" So there was that. That's the original part of the vision. Then you just go on this other journey. And the funny thing is the road kind of still was in the wilderness, and I'm just like, I don't like that part. But anyway, it's not my picture. So I'm like, you mean we're gonna come out of here and we're gonna still go to the wilderness? I understand it more now. I appreciate it more now than I did when I first received it. But then there was another time during, I think it was the beginning of May with the Major Fun, and I had those 3 watermarks of visions of the. There was a crack at the top of the stadium, and we're like, whoa, we have never seen that before. And then there was the hand hovering over the red button in our break room as we're waiting for this party to begin. That's a different vision. And then another vision of us standing on the sidewalk waiting for this parade. We've been in this parade thing for like a year. You know what I'm saying? Almost a year. And we've seen different parts and different elements of it, but like the big, huge, oh, the parade's about to start. Man, you said that a year ago. But how it begins is this oil, like the breaking of a dam, and then there's this flood, and you see this water just coming over your feet, and they're like, well, if it's coming over your feet, you're already kind of too late. You're getting ready to get washed away, right? Bookmark that. But but this time we're just standing there waiting for this parade, and here comes this oil coming across our feet. And all 3 of those visions, the crack in the dam, the hand hovering over the red button to reset and reverse everything, and the oil coming over our feet, were all layered. They were kind of watermarked on top of each other at some point. And then we kind of went through the month of May with the Major Fun, and we really felt that crack in the dam. God's like, I'm opening my heart up, and He did. He just started opening up His heart up more in a way that we just haven't seen, right?
A lot of revelation.
And then the Lord was showing His hand, meaning like He's showing the cards He's getting ready to play in our lives. And it's like His hands, and when He hits that reset button, that's the thing He's gonna do. He's gonna, those are the cards you know what I'm saying? I'm probably gonna over explain the analogy, but par for the race course, that third part, that cool part, has not happened yet. And I'm like, are you serious? We're gonna go through another, ooh, now here's the cool part. Okay, let's go somewhere else. It's like, what? Come on! But now I have more revelation on that. I forget, I talked about it on a video somewhere. But God's just let Him do what He's gonna do. Let Him build the house. Trust Him. And so I was like, I knew it was gonna happen. I was like, that's fine. That's fine. And so then there came this point where I got a vision where the dam was cracked all the way down from top to bottom, but it wasn't open. And I was like, whoa, that's interesting. What does that even mean, right? And then I got another picture of, while I was praying, I saw God's heart. It looked kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. It looked like a date. No, not a date. It looked like kind of looked like a teardrop, but it was an elongated teardrop, and then it like this, but I knew it was like a heart, and then it opened up, and then all this candy come like a piñata being busted open, all this wrapped up candy, multicolored wrappers. Some of it was sparkling, some of it was just wrapping on top of wrapping on top of wrapping. It was like gourmet candy or something, and it just came spilling out. I was like, okay. And I was like, ooh, man, well, whatever's coming from God's heart, it's going to be nice, wrapped up for you, and it's going to be sweet, And so that's like a conglomeration of visions that kind of tie into this whole God showing His heart. Like he like what He's going to give is going to be sweet. It's going to be awesome. But it's like that opening of the heart and the the dam, or not the dam, but the stadium. I keep getting those mixed up. It's like I call Isaiah Psalms and Psalms Isaiah. I don't know why I do that. My brain is crisscrossed in that way sometimes. But that opening just hasn't happened yet. But because we've been going through this process. We've been going through this process of time also. Because from the beginning of May to the middle of June has been like there's been two separate time frames distinguished there, we believe, by the Spirit. And we've already experienced two of those visions, the cracking of the dam, even it going straight down, and then the hand hovering over the red button. And now it's just a matter of waiting for because I really believe that the oil over the feet represents the financial provision. And it's just going to start flowing in a way that's just like, wow, this is amazing. Like way more than you can possibly imagine. And it just starts flooding over our feet, and it rises up to our knees super quick. And there's this limo that as soon as the oil goes over my feet in this vision, I'm like looking at this amazing thing. I'm thinking it should be water, but it's oil. And I'm like, it's thick and running. Like some huge vat of oil broke up the street, and now it's coming in like a flood, like you were talking about. The heart of God opening, and here it comes like a flood. And Jesus shows up. While this stuff is going over my feet, I see this shiny chrome fender from this vehicle, and I look up at the same time, but I'm still kind of in awe of what's going on with my feet. Sound like Eep. Where are my feet? No, I'm kidding. But go watch your Croods, people. Anyway, and so it was a limo, right? And then the door to the limo opens up, and Jesus is like, "Hey guys, you ready?" He's like, come on, or something like that. And it was like, oh, okay. And we just take a step, and by the time we take a step, this oil flowing is already up to our ankles. And we take more steps, and it just keeps rising up our calves and to our knees. And by the time we get to the limo, it's passing our knees, and we can barely, the force of it is so intense, we can barely get in the limo. You know, I mean, we can, but it's like that. It's an intense flow. And then we all get in, we close the door, and then all of a sudden the limo gets lifted up by this torrential like flood of oil. And I'm like, wow. And the funny thing is, the limo represents the Holy Spirit, but the oil also represents a manifestation of the Holy Spirit, which I believe is just a flood of provision to the nation, I believe, which is going to also flood toward us in some way. I don't know how it all works out. You know, with prophetic things, you just are not going to know everything, you know? And you're the one getting the prophetic insight. It doesn't matter. You're not going to know everything. It's like, oh, you're going to get prophetic insight. That means you're going to be a little co-God. No, you're not. You're just going to get some cool information that's going to help benefit the body of Christ, you know, and yourself. And so,
yeah.
And so all of that to like say like, wow, this is God's heart, and this is what he's been, this is what he's going to do, and this is what he's been waiting to do.
Yeah.
I said a lot there. Right?
Yes. Well, and kind of just also one of the other visions that you had was with the Lord over the stadium.
Take over Devin.
Yes.
I did. I totally forgot about that one. Because the Lord gave me this word. He's like, now I will, what does it say? Now I will breathe and pant together or something, because I've held my peace for long enough. Now I'm going to labor. I'm going to squeeze. I'm going to start. And I saw the Lord looking like, I saw this picture of this, but I knew it was the Lord. You understand? The Lord can appear in many different forms. But he looked like a sumo wrestler. He did. He looked like a sumo wrestler. But he was like, but he was squatting over this NASCAR stadium. I mean, so he was like literally like 120 feet tall, I guess. I don't know. But it was like he was squatting over this stadium, and you could tell he was in labor, and he looked like a sumo wrestler because he was so pregnant with what he was going to do, what he was about to birth into the faithful who have continued to the faithful who have continued to just revolve their life around the Lord and his heart and what he's doing, making sacrifices unbelievable, just following the Lamb wherever he goes. You know, Revelation 7:14. Who are these people? Oh, well, these are the ones who've come out of the great tribulation, and now because they've come out and endured to the end, they are now going to be put into the house of God, and there they shall remain forever, never to be taken out of it. It says something like that. And sighing and sorrow will flee away, and he'll wipe away every tear from their eyes and all that stuff. But it's like you get a reward for overcoming. You know? Yeah.
And so, but basically that was just this picture that you were getting, that it was like he's in labor, but he's ready. Like there's a readiness of birth.
He's ready for sure.
And so again, like the expression of his heart is like he's ready to flood us with his love. And one of the things I think that was also coming out of over these last couple weeks is that as God floods us with his love, there is going to be a drowning out of the enemy. You know, it can be all different things, whether you deal with fear, doubt, anxiety, all these different things that could hit or affect your heart. Because of his love just flooding, it's like those enemies can no longer remain.
Or physical healing issues, or relationship issues, whether they be friends or family or both. You know, it's like God heals the heart a lot of times by doing something. You know, it's like he has mercy on the leper by cleansing his leprosy. Not by just saying, well, hey man, I love you, be warm and filled, peace be to you. You know what I'm saying? Say, well, thanks for the peace, but can I have a piece of healing, please?
Yes.
That's what I would really like, because it's this affliction that's stealing my peace. So if you could take care of this affliction, it might be a little easier for me to walk in peace.
Yes.
Please. So that was just something else that I was like we were going through, and just like the Lord was sharing with us about just how as his love comes, as he brings forth and birth everything that he's going to do, it's also at the same time going to drown out the enemy. You know, and much like the flood, right? The flood came and the righteous were saved, Noah and his family in the ark, and they were lifted up, but all those who were evil and wicked and did not repent, it's like they were drowned out by the flood. But this time it's like the flood though that's coming is not a literal flood, because the Lord promised to never flood the earth again. This flood though is a flood of his heart and his love towards his people, and it will drown out the enemy and the lies of the enemy in our own hearts. And I think for many of us, God has been exposing and bringing things to light, and it makes sense, right? You expose, and then he can come in and wipe clean and wash and just, even like Pharaoh, I think everything that God did in the land of Egypt was really exposing all the different beliefs and things that they had that were proving them to be false. It's like,
but then ultimately the end result was that the Israelites walked across dry land, and then the enemy tried to pursue the whole time, but then it turns around, God flips it, and closes the waters of the Red Sea upon the enemy, and they're wiped out. And the scripture says that they never saw the Egyptians again. Like that Pharaoh, he was gone. And so it's like that, I think, with what God wants to do. He's like, I want to just flood your hearts and bring life, bring revival, but also so you never have to deal with these mindsets and heart issues that you've been dealing with.
The enemy can't go into the new thing God has for you, or else it's just gonna be the old enemy in a new place.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not new.
Yeah.
We had a lady one time said, I'm like, can I tell this story? We had a lady one time says, well, the way I see it, like, if God's going to do something new, it's like, he'll do the same thing I'm doing. He'll just send me to another state to do it. That's a new thing. And I'm like, no, that's not. That is not a new thing. When God's doing a new thing, it's new. That means you don't know what it is. That means you've never seen it. It's you have to depend on the Spirit to go and flow and all that. It's like it's not new to take the old and put it in a new place, because then it'll all just get contaminated with the old anyway.
Yeah.
Isn't that like the wineskin principle? Putting the old wine in the new wineskin, it busts, and then you have a wasted wineskin and wasted wine. Well, that was a waste.
Yeah. Or maybe it's new wine in an old wineskin.
Yeah, that too.
Something like that.
Yeah. They don't mix.
No.
Either way.
And also with just like as God flows his love from his heart, it's going to bring life. And it's a reminder of basically Ezekiel 47, where it's talking about the river, and even that the river, it's like there's the levels of the river itself.
That's what that oil was like. That's what it reminded me of. I was like, whoa, this is like the ankle, knee, waist. If I get to the waist, man, it's gonna be drowning outside the vehicle.
But
so it's almost like, so let's just say that oil is provision. It's almost like the Lord's like, don't focus on that.
Yeah.
Even if it's flooding and you're just getting this miraculous provision and support from the Lord in whatever way it comes, don't focus on that. Stay focused on the Lord,
and just be carried by the Spirit.
Yep.
But then also with Ezekiel 47, it then talks about where the double river flows, it's going to bring life.
Yeah.
And
dead places.
And so even that, like God's saying, like, I want, when my heart flows, and because it comes from the river, it comes from the throne room. It comes from the throne. And you see that in Revelation 22. But it's like, for this, it's like when things just flow from his heart and go, it's to bring life to our hearts, even the places of our heart that have been dead, areas of your life where maybe you've had dreams, maybe you've they could even be areas of woundedness that it's just too hard to even go to that place, even with the Lord, and maybe God's not even touching on it in this season of your life, but it's like God's like, his whole purpose is to bring life, is to bring that newness, you know. And it was like, where did the river flow? Well, it flowed into the Dead Sea, and it's like wherever that river flows, there's going to be life and really even an abundance of salvation, because the scripture talks about how there's going to be lots of fish there, and fishermen will be fishing off of it. And a lot of times fish, I will cause you to be fishers of men, but it can represent those that come, like the harvesting of salvation, even in that picture. And there's going to be trees on the banks that they're going to be fruitful. And so really for our life, as God flows and just pours out his heart of love for us, which really comes from Ephesians 3:17 through 19. That scripture, literally, when we, like, right after we had finished the restoration play, which was April 12th, we left and went to Chattanooga for one day. And basically 3:17, it was like everywhere. Like we were seeing it so much. And God really took us to Ephesians 3:17. But
see, that's another thing with prophetic numbers. It can have different applications. For a time there, it was Zechariah 3:1-7. And then it was Zephaniah 3:17. But in this case, it's Ephesians 3:17. How do you discern which one is which? Well, you have to have the Spirit of God. Without the Spirit of God, they're just numbers, and without the Spirit of God, it's just words on a page.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And so from that point forward to where we're at right now, it's been Ephesians 3:17, but also through 19, where it's just talking about the love of God, and that Christ would make his home and dwell in your hearts. And so it's like, as God allows us to experience all the dimensions of his love, it's like, it's to bring life, and abundant life, and it's to bring fruit in our life, and the fruits of the Spirit. So you're going to experience love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And it's like all of those things just coming out and blossoming. And I think that's a result of God expressing. And how does God express his heart? Well, John 3:16 says, "For God so loved the world that he gave." And there he gave his only son, Christ, to us. And we just need to believe in him, and we'll have salvation and eternal life. But the fact is, when God loves, an expression of his love is that he gives. And I really believe that is what we're going to see. God is like, I am going to express my heart's love toward you, and that I'm going to give you the desires of your heart. I'm going to give what I have promised you. Much like Abraham and Sarah is like, I'm going to give you a son. That's how I'm going to express my love towards you. And so for us personally, there are so many promises that God has spoken over to us, but it's all a place of giving. It has to come from God. And the Lord's like, all right, now's the time, so I'm going to release these things to you. I'm going to give you what I have promised you, what I have spoken to you and placed in your hearts.
Well, it's like you can just see it in the scripture, right? So many times, like, God's like, he comes in the beginning and he says, here's my promise. And then you go through this process, however long the process is, that when you're ready for that promise or that desire to be fulfilled, you've gone through a process where there is nothing I can do. There's no ideas, no hints, no imaginations, nothing I can do to possibly make that happen. But I know now, by the time you get to that point of birth, you will be so convinced that the promise is from the Lord. If you make it that far, you're just going to be like, this is just the Lord. But it's more impossible now than it was when I first received it. And honestly, that lets you know that you've grown, because you were like, oh, this is totally possible. Yes. And it's just like, you get to the end, you're like, this is completely and utterly impossible. But you believe in the impossible, the God who does the impossible, but you're just become more and more aware of how impossible, particularly as you grow in the dream and the vision that God gave you, Which is funny, because even like with Abraham and Sarah, they really were in that position of, this is impossible. It could have happened when you first gave it a couple years after, but man, I'm almost 100. It's like, we're done. It's not happening. I thought it was going to happen, but God's faithful. We'll see. I don't know. What's he going to, I don't know. We'll just keep believing, I guess. But he's gonna do what he said he's gonna do. Who knows how that's gonna happen? Because according to my own understanding, that's where you're in trouble. That's the battle right there, isn't it? Can I share about some of the sequence of things God's been sharing with us? Sure. Yeah, so it's like he started this thing where God was just speaking for 2 days in a row about how he's gonna provide. Like, I'm going to provide. I am going to provide. There was just, right? It was it was almost physical conversation, you know, like he's going to provide. And then he went on to say other things, and it's like he kept he's layering this message and these promises and these things that he's going to do. And we've been really in a time of like intense like washing with the word. I mean, we've been getting so much word, almost just like, hey, remember this, and hey, remember this. Almost like packing your kid up to go to summer camp. Did you get fresh underwear? Do you have toothpaste? What about your toothbrush? You know, it's like all these things are just like we know all these things, but it's like, no, come on, let's get refreshed in them. Let's pull it up and refresh it. Here, what does this mean? What does that mean? What does this mean? What does that mean? You know, and it's like
that is so interesting, because we have experienced that, but we've also been, particularly over like last night and even today, where God's just like, I don't know, reminding us of even like our own life and like things like that he's done, or just literally
like when we met.
When we met. But then like even last night I was looking back at pictures, and it was like, oh my gosh, like
from like 2008.
Yeah, like just going through all these different pictures, and I was just like, I haven't done that.
Like from like basically like when we first met.
When we
those
first met,
couple months of meeting each other. It's like,
all
wow.
the way through. And it was just like, it's so funny.
That dude needs a haircut. Whoa, no one was cutting my hair back then. Jeez.
But no, but it was just like it's so interesting, because not too long ago you got the song, we had a Sentimental Journey.
Yes.
And
it was at the end of a God time at night.
Yeah.
Just all of a sudden that song popped into my head, and I was like, wait a second, I don't remember that being, you know, like it wasn't because I saw something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't know where that's coming from, and it's like, I think it's the Lord, you know? And from that point to this, we've been kind of on a sentimental journey.
Yeah, and I think
going down memory lane.
It really is, because it's tying into all the numbers.
And we haven't been trying to do it.
No,
it's just God's just been he's been the boat captain.
Yeah, it's like tying like all these numbers, like you're saying, it's just like, hey, remember this. This is what I'm gonna do, and this is how I'm reminding you of everything that I've spoken and said. And hey, do you guys remember this, like, you know, the journey that you've been on, and where I have been in all of this, and it's just like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
we'll go on this ride with you of just like kind of looking back and just seeing God's goodness, but then just being continually reminded of what God has promised, and him saying like, I am going to do this, like, I will provide.
Yeah, and it's like he's just been saying so many interesting things, and in light of the interesting things, and these reminders and these little, like, it's almost like these little kisses of love, like, I love you, I love you. It's like we're going on this long journey without you. It's like, where are you going to be with us?
Yeah.
You know? But he's been saying, like, I'm going to provide for you. I'm going to comfort you. I'm going to give you comfort. And I've had encounters with the Lord where we're just having a heart-to-heart about things, and it's just, you know, ooh, Jesus. You know, the other night, the Lord was like, I was like, why would I was sharing with my family some stuff that the Lord shared with me. You know, some prophetic things that you can literally see happening in the nation on a daily basis. You know, you can see the outplay of what the Lord said was going to happen. He didn't have to share that with me. I was like, what? Now why? Here's the real reason is, the real thing is like, why did God share that with me? And immediately the Lord was like, because I share my heart with my friends, and I about lost it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So stuff like that's been happening like crazy, you know? And then so I had this, like, this encounter with the Lord where, well, I don't know when was this. It was today. Today's Wednesday, so you guys are seeing this on Thursday if you're seeing it fresh. But it was, I think it was on Monday morning. And I woke up and I was just so heavy and just empty and grieved and all these different things. But I also was hopeful and full of faith and confidence, but I was just tired. And it was just so, it was like a smorgasbord of a bunch of different things going on that basically resulted in me dragging myself into the presence of the Lord willingly and just being like, hey, what's up, man? How's it going? You know? And I just, all I really just wanted to do was just cry. I just wanted to just cry. I didn't have a particular reason. Like, nothing hurt me, nothing bothered me, nothing. It's like I just wanted to just boo-hoo and bawl like a baby for like hours. Just hours. Just cry session. You know, ugly cry, everything, tears and snot and all of it, you know, dripping into your mouth and you don't even care. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying like baby cry. You know what I'm saying? That's what I felt in my heart. And then I get this vision from the Lord of him coming next to me, and he's just like sobbing. He is actually sobbing in this vision. I'm just like, what's wrong? And here's the really cool part, because I had a mixture of things going on. They might be considered positive and negative, right? It was the same thing he showed me. He was sitting there, he was grieving with me and sorrowful, but it's like he was also joyful and happy and appreciative. He had a mixture of things going on, you know? And he was just saying, like, I'm just so thankful. I'm just so appreciative that, like, all of this you guys are doing, everything that you've done up to this point, you've done it all for me. You have done this for me. And he's just like, oh, and it's just tears. You know, it's just like the deep just compassion and love of the Lord, of the touching of his heart. The Lord literally said to me, he was just like, Devin, everything you're going for, everything you're going through right now, this feeling that you're feeling and all that, he was like, that's for me. You did this, you're going through this for me. And it was just like, and here's what the Lord did. He was like this next to me, and he was just like, he's like, oh, that smells. It was like he was smelling grandma's cooking on Thanksgiving. You know what I'm saying? He was like, oh, and it's like that kind of life, that kind of laid down life, that kind of life that's gone through suffering, that's made sacrifices, that's gone through unrighteous slander, that's gone through lack and wonder and questions and all that stuff, and you still keep on going year after year. You keep coming up like Hannah year after year. You better know God's got a Samuel in store for you. You know what I'm saying? He's got a promise in store for you. He's got a desire of your heart in store for you to say, oh, I'm going to give you the desire of your heart, but I'm going to put the God pizzazz on it. Okay? You think you know what pizzazz is. You don't. Wait until you see my version. That's going to change your version. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about the 10 versions. Okay? I'm not talking about them. You know, the wise and the foolish versions. I'm not talking about them. And I'm just saying, like, and I was just so touched by the Lord. I was like, wow. And so again, it's the Lord saying, you're not the only one going through the pressure. You're not the only one going through the weight of the weight. You're not the only one going through what you're going through. It's a mirror of what I'm going through as well. But it's like when you have that hope and faith and the long suffering and the believing in all things and all that, and it's like you're connected with God in his kind of suffering. You know, a selfish suffering, it's totally different. Yeah. It's a completely different kind of suffering.
Well, and it was just interesting too, because one of the scriptures that we have been getting recently was Romans 12:15, which talks about like the weep with those who weep and rejoice with those who rejoice.
Yes, that's right.
And it was just that morning, it was like, wow, that's like a picture of exactly that.
Because we were getting it, and now we're having an encounter about it.
Yeah.
You know? That's pretty cool.
But it was really awesome too, because God was basically saying, like, you know, the sweet aroma, and he brought up Genesis 8:21, and how when Noah came out of the ark, he built an altar and made a sacrifice to the Lord, and it was that sweet aroma that pleased his heart, where God made the covenant that said,
caused him to do it.
Never flood the earth again. You know, even with the wickedness of man's heart, I'm not going to do it. And so in our instance, it's almost just like, like this pleasing aroma. It's like he's saying, like, this is so good. And so there is that sense of him being moved with compassion. And so,
like in Mark 1:40 through 44, where he was moved with compassion, a deep compassion, to heal the leper.
Leprosy.
Because he said, if you're willing. And he's like, I know you can. That's why I'm coming to you. I know you can. I already know. There's no issue with faith, and can you? You don't need to ask me that question. I know you can, but are you willing? Woohoo! Man, that'll preach about 3 sermons right there. I know you can, but are you willing? You know? And he's like, oh man, I am willing. It's like, here, let me show you. God's about to show some people. I don't want to get sorry.
You're good.
And so that takes me to another. See, this is the kind of stuff that God's been doing lately. See, I believe that the Lord is what the Lord's really preparing us for is to receive exactly, to finally see the birth of the promise of, and the time frame, of course, we don't know, but it sure is like leading up to this, you know, this, it is just leading up to it. We don't know when, but it's leading up to this place of leaving this life, going into another. Because the Lord said to me, he's like, Devin, I don't know if I've shared this in a video recently or ever, but he's like, Dev, once I open this door, buddy, everything changes. Like, you do not come back here. You do not come back to this place of life. You move forward. I mean, it's just, everything changes. Kind of like marriage, you know? It's like, hey man, once you say I do, you are married. There's no more single life. There's no more single ways. There's no more singleness mindset. And, I have a whim. I'm just going to go do my thing. No, you're married now. You have to talk with your wife about it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, everything's different. And so I'm like, okay, all right, cool. I think that's what the Lord's preparing us for. So I'm going to end things with this most recent encounter I had with the Lord this morning. And the Lord said, the Lord was sharing with me this morning about how we have dwelled in captivity that He has placed us in for our own growth and benefit, called the wilderness, which of course we know is His heart, and we've been circling His heart and just getting inundated with His purpose and vision for our heart and His dream for us, you know. But He has been faithful. He's been faithful in the wilderness like crazy to provide for us. I mean, I know that a lot of people don't understand or agree with what we're doing, but if you can't see God in it, I mean, we've been doing this for 5 years. I mean, wrong, 6 years. Supported for 6 years. It's like, that's the Lord. You know, some people can give, some people can't. Some big givers rise and some of them go away. But it's like, God always is He proves Himself to be the sustainer, you know? And it's like, you can't do it without the Lord. You can't. You cannot do it on selfish ambition and what you believe is the Lord. You can't. You're going to fall on your face. I believe the Lord wants me to go walk on that water, and I'm going to go. Okay. Splush. It's like, well, are you sure it was the Lord? You know, and before we started this journey, I was so serious in God's face. I was like, God, this better be you. Because when we take this step, it's a real serious step. It ain't no going back and buddy, you know. But ultimately, you have to make a decision. You have to step out in faith. And it's like, I just knew it was the Lord for us to just, come on, we're charting this journey. I never knew it was going to lead to all this and be, I didn't know. I had no idea. I still don't know. But I know the Lord. Yeah. And he has been faithful, and he will continue to be. But the Lord's like, that's where you've been. You've been in a wilderness time. It's like, and we have been led by the Spirit to this place of stillness and a place where there's not much room to ever move, and definitely not to run. That place, it's called a stall. If you're an animal and you're in a stall, you don't have much room to run. You're getting taken care of and everything like that. You might come out being led by the master as he's holding you on a rope, but he never lets go of that rope. And he's like, okay, get you some recreation. Okay, back into the stall. It's like, what are you doing? So even in life, I'm reading from my notes, obviously, can you tell? Even in life, when something stalls, it loses power to move and becomes stuck there until power comes to restore it back to movement, right? And I felt like the Lord stepped in and said, okay, this is what I'm saying. There is a power, like on the day of Pentecost, that is coming to restore us back to movement. Because it is God has placed us in his heart to circle around, and yes, there is movement in the stall, and we're just circling the Lord's heart. God, what do you want? What's on your heart? I mean, that's our life. That's what we do all day, every day. But then there comes this opening where you can take off, and it's like the Malachi, right? Malachi 4:2, like the calves release from the stall. You just go gambling and running and jumping and bouncing and all the stuff you just could not do in the stall. Like when the leper was cleansed, he was like the calf released from the stall. He was able to go do things in life that he just couldn't do anymore. He couldn't do as a leper. He could go. Here's the cool thing. See, because a lot of times when you're in an affliction, you do not take anything for granted. And then so he was able to, hey man, how's it going? I shook a hand. I shook a hand. It's like, okay, you shook a hand. Why are you freaking out about shaking a hand? Because I was a leper 10 minutes ago, brother. Don't you understand? Oh, you were? Oh, God. No.
You got to go show yourself.
Yeah, but it's like, you don't understand. It's like, I can't take any of this stuff for granted. I just love it. To be able to do the things that other people do so often, they just take it for granted. And so when you're in that stall and you come out, you come out of that place, the Lord's like, I'm releasing you, and you just go and you just run and you just do things that other people. It's like, oh, okay, so you bought a house. Oh, that's awesome. That's great. No, you don't know. You don't know. Let me tell you my story. You know what I'm saying? And so there's a power, like on the day of Pentecost, that is coming to restore us back to movement. That is when the gate of the stall will be opened and we will go and run free. The Lord said that we are not used to that. That's what the Lord said to me. He's like, yeah, Devin. It's like, but I'm like, Lord, we have been led by your Spirit. What do you mean? Like we're about to be led by your Spirit? And it's like, wait, haven't we been? He's like, yes, you've been led by my Spirit in the stall. But outside of the stall, I mean, running and going, because it was the Lord's like, you get ready, dude. I mean, stuff is about to go down. Stuff's about to happen. It's about to go really fast. And it's like, but I'm going to be leading you. But you're not used to that because you've just been in the stall for years. And it's like, okay, well, and I said to the Lord, I was like, all right, cool. We're good. And it's like on the day of Pentecost, they weren't ready for that. They didn't know. They knew what the Lord said, but as it happened and when it happened and how it happened, the Lord didn't tell them any of that. And they didn't. I don't think they had a picture of it either. I'm ready for that. I'm ready to see the unseen. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
So the Lord said that we're not used to that. He said he will be leading in a different way. He knows how to lead the running lamb just as much as leading the lamb in the stall. We've been in the stall this whole time, being broken and trained. Now we are about to be released to run. See, that was another thing the Lord told me. Talk about, you get your first two, and then you're missing the third, right? Oh, it's going to be a time of brokenness. Okay, we got that. We totally went through that, right? Time of training. Okay, we got that. All right, then you're gonna step into a time of running. Oh yeah, okay. And we've been waiting to run since we got the word. It's like, is there going to be a running anytime soon? It's like God always. It's like that's that tithe, that cool part that He saves to the end. I'm gonna save the best part for last. He does it all the time throughout our whole journey. You know what I'm saying? It's like that last, tenth of the story that just is the most awesome, coolest part. It's like that's the part He cuts off, and He's like, I'll save that for later. Like, what? Yeah, let's go to another book. It's like, oh my gosh. So now we are about to be released to run. But it is because of the brokenness and training that God will not lose us in the excitement of the running. And there will be much, 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 much running. Boom. So that is the kind of stuff that's been going on. And like we always say, and we really do mean it, we are sharing with you a tithe. We're tithing to you guys, just our experience with the Lord. It's really just a portion, you know what I'm saying? How can you videotape a life? Even if you vlog and you have your own TV show, you're not catching everything. You can't. And so,
so basically that's kind of over the last few weeks as far as just God sharing His heart, and His heart is that He's getting ready to express the fullness of His love, and that love is going to bring about life. It's going to bring about resurrection, and it's just going to flood us. But it is also, as it floods our own heart, it's going to drown the enemy, and just that you won't see those enemies anymore.
Amen.
They won't affect your heart in the same way ever again. And then just that, I don't know, just that it's like what God is going to be doing for His people is going to be sweet. It's going to be filled with His goodness. It's going to be filled with His love. And He is going to release us to go forth, and we're going to be going forth in a way with the Spirit that's new and different, because we haven't been this way before. Joshua 3 talks about...
We didn't even touch on any of that, and that's been huge over the last couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, and it's like you haven't been this way before.
337.
And so we haven't been this way before with the Lord. We know the stall. We know the surroundings of that, but we haven't been in the way where it's like, oh, we're going running. But to know that the Spirit of God will be running with us and leading us. And so all we have to do is just follow, listening, hearing the heart of God as we go. But I think also in this process, there is going to be, at least for us, God is always, we've had this whole time just really feeling like blind to everything that God is doing. And He does reveal, and a lot of times He brings us through a process and then shows us at the end what He's been speaking.
We don't know what's going on the farm. We can hear it. We can kind of sense some stuff going on. There's an orange glow over there. It's flickery. There must be a fire over there or something, because we don't know, because we're in a stall. We're limited big time by what we see.
But I just believe that there is a huge part of this where it's like God's going to give us sight. He's going to give His people the sight to see, to be able, and so because of that, it's like you have the new eyes of the heart to see and understand and know what God is saying, how His Spirit is moving, which will allow you to run with Him, allow you to go forward, and to not be afraid, because God wants us to go with His Spirit and to just move unhindered, and perfect love casts out all fear. And so when God floods us with the love of His heart, we don't have fear there. We can go forward and run with him, free from fear, free from the things that might bind or shackle the feet, the weights that have caused, it's like, oh, I don't know about this, I don't know about that, I'm afraid of making decisions or things like that. And it's like, God's perfect love can cast all of that out. So we're free to run with him. We're free to go forward with him. And like you said, it's because of the brokenness, because of the training, that God knows when I release you, you're going to be running with me. And so I just pray right now, Father, that you would just come, that you would open the eyes of our hearts to understand, to know, and perceive what you are speaking, what you are saying in our life, Lord, that we would run with your Spirit, that we would go forth in boldness and confidence of what you are doing in our life, what you want us to pursue, who you want us to have in our life, God, that there would just be such clarity for your people, God, and just that as you open the gates, as you open the floodgates of your heart of love, that it would literally just wipe away every fear and every tear from the eyes of your people, from the weeping and the sorrow, and that joy would return, that life would return, that there would just be a fullness of expression of heart from your heart and our hearts together, that just are able to just move swiftly to receive the harvest that you have for each of us individually. And God, I do pray that the enemy, that he would be cast out, that there would be no more fear, no more doubt, no more shame, no more anxiety and depression, but Lord, instead that your people would walk in your love, they would walk in confidence and boldness and security in who they are in you. That there would just be just a fierceness of the roar of your lion heart that gets placed in your people, and that we would go forth boldly and receive everything that you have spoken, that we would take back what the enemy has stolen, that we would recover all, that we would receive the fullness of the harvest, 100% full of what you have sown during all of these years of circling your heart, that you would provide that rain that comes down and then releases us into the time of harvest, God, and that we would harvest this summer. God, I am praying, Lord, that there would be a great harvest this summer for your people, Lord, and that there would be the fullness of it, that there would be nothing left out in the fields, God. When David received back what was taken during Ziklag, Lord, you said that he recovered all. Not one thing small or great was missing. And so I just pray that over us, Lord, right now, that nothing would be missing. Every aspect of the harvest, small and great, would be received, Lord, and that we would receive back just everything that the enemy has taken, but also that we would receive that which has been laid down. God, so many of us during this season have laid down specific things that you have asked us to lay down, but I just believe, God, it is time for us to receive them back. And so, Father, let us receive the fullness of what you want to have return into our life, but that it would just be even greater than it was before, that there would just be a richness that can only come from heaven. And so, Lord, I just thank you for your goodness and your faithfulness to your people. I thank you that you just want to pour out and lavish your heart of love upon us, Lord, and may we just have open hearts to receive the fullness of restoration, God, body, soul, and spirit. May there be healing over your people from head to toe, God, that your truth and your words would go forth, and that there would just be a fullness, Lord, of the healing that you want to do upon the lives of your people, and that from that healing there would just be a fruitfulness that is just truly above and beyond all that we could ask or imagine. And so we just pray this in your name, Father. Amen.
Amen. I don't know what just popped up there. Well, we got 4 minutes of something. Maybe it's our
4 minutes left on the card.
On the card. Oh, okay. That was like perfect. That was like a perfect ending right there.
All right. Well, guys, we're gonna get going here, but we do pray that you guys are blessed. And until next time.
Forever.
Yeah. Until next time, guys. We'll see you later.
Yep. Bye, guys. We love you.